Highest to Lowest is directed by Spike Lee and is his latest joint, starring Denzel Washington. And this is the fifth collaboration between the two of them, so naturally, I was very excited to see this movie. In this movie, you follow David King, played by Denzel, who is a music mogul regarded as having the best ears in the business. He will know talent and music better than anyone else, and he's built a great career out of it, and in fact has his own label in New York. However, things get complicated when he receives a call that his son is being held for ransom, and he has to figure out how to save his son as things are coming to a head in his personal life and his professional life, and the situation gets more and more complicated as the movie progresses, and he's at a race against time to figure out what to do. This is also a remake of 1963's High and Low, which was directed by Akira Kurosawa. That movie is absolutely incredible, and it follows a very similar story of a man trying to find his son before it's too late, and also being held for ransom. In that one, we followed King Ogando, played by Toshiro Mifune, and that film was, again, like I said, extraordinary. And I highly recommend checking it out as well. And I feel like it'll also be a really fun experience because you can then watch that and watch this, and you can sort of compare and contrast with them, like, how much has transcended from 1963 to 2025. The collaboration between Spike Lee and Denzel over the years has been great with movies like Mo Better Blues, He Got Game, Malcolm X, and Inside Man. And so the idea of a fifth movie between them, of course, is going to get people enticed. And I got to see this on the big screen last night, and it's pretty good. I think this is a really, really good movie, and I think for the most part, it does a really great job of adapting Kurosawa's story to this modern setting, and this one being in New York City, and how Spike Lee manages to do that, bringing in his own signature style and flourishes to it, and making sure that it is as much of a love letter to New York as much as it is this engrossing crime thriller where you're following a man trying to save his son. I think what they were able to pull off over here is pretty solid. And once again, and this is going to come as no surprise to you, Denzel Washington is incredible. He's one of the greatest actors we will ever have. He is a magnificent force whenever he's on screen. And any movie that I've seen with him, even if the movie was not always the best, he is always giving it 110%. And that's very much the case with Highest to Lowest as well. This is a fantastic performance, and as you're seeing him trying to juggle with everything and keep it all together, as again, situation is becoming more and more tense, and he's losing control of what could work out and what is something that is manageable. It's all very, very well executed, and again, he has some incredible scenes over here that really just showcase what a versatile actor he is. I think everybody in the movie was actually really good. Jeffrey Wright is also really great. He plays Paul, who is a close friend to David and also is his driver. He's really, really good too, and he gets more involved in the story as things progress, and he also adds a lot to the movie in terms of humor as well. He's a very funny character at times. But I think the bigger surprise for me, and there's not much been shown about him, so I'll keep that quiet, but A$AP Rocky is in this movie. Great music from this guy usually, but I think as an actor, he's really good over here. I'm curious to hear what other people think of him, but I thought he was really good in the movie. And there's a couple of moments with him and Denzel where they're, just having this back and forth between each other. And one of those scenes is probably my favorite scene in the movie. It's really, really great. As I mentioned already, Spike Lee directs it really well. And I also like, again, as much as a thriller it is, he wants you to know how much he loves New York. And there's a lot of his, appreciation for the city that comes through over here when it comes to the culture, its people, just making sure certain landmarks get a lot more attention and love than maybe they usually do. This is especially the case with the Bronx this time around, because David is from the Bronx, and there's stuff happening in this movie that takes you through that area. And there's a really great, segment of the movie over there where if you, ever had any history with the Bronx, if you've ever lived there, if you've ever just been like on the 4 train line, you'll just be pointing at stuff and seeing things which are just really exciting. I had that experience because After college, I was living in the Bronx briefly. I didn't live on the 4 line, I was living on the 6 line, which was for the south side of Bronx. I was on the Pelham Bay line, but I would sometimes transfer over from the 6 to the 4 because that was the express line. And so there's moments in this movie where you see some of that and you go, oh yeah, that looks familiar. Speaking of also New York, something that comes up in this movie is how much Spike Lee's love for New York sports teams is there. He's a big fan of them. You'll see him at Knicks games every now and then if you look up photos online. But there's also a lot of things going on over here when it comes to the Yankees. So there's a game happening and there's very visible call outs to Boston throughout. So like many times in the movie, there'll just be references to the fact that the Boston Celtics suck or the Red Sox suck. And I have to imagine that if you're from Boston and if you're watching this movie, it's probably going to be really a very hostile experience for you because it's just going to be call outs all the time like, you guys suck. And once again, much like a lot of works from Spike Lee in the past, there's also very much a spotlight shown on black culture and up and coming black artists and how the spotlight should be on them, especially in a time when art seems to be under threat. In the movie, they constantly talk about things like AI and how, things are being, changed for the worse when it comes to creativity and when it comes to the power of music, really. Because something that David wants to do with his label, along with his wife, played by Ilfina Shadera, they both want to create something that gives young black artists a chance to thrive and gives them a chance to really, showcase their talents with the world. And that's something that they're constantly on the lookout for. And so throughout the movie, there are moments where you have, the visuals that represent just the power of black culture and just the beauty of it. And I think in those moments, again, the movie really shines because it adds so much the message of legacy and so much of what, is trying to be represented in the story as well. And I think the movie succeeds over there too. It's beautifully shot as well. Matthew Libatique's cinematography is incredible. There are a couple of sequences, like there's this one extended train sequence that happens, which is really, really great and it's wonderfully shot. There's actually a couple of train moments in this movie that look phenomenal, and really it is a testament to his work that they work out as well as they do. And now all of what I'm saying here are positives. Eventually. I think that the movie does take a while to get going. That first act is a little rough around the edges because it's still sort of within the confines of adapting Kurosawa's movie. It does its own thing eventually, but initially a lot of the beats and a lot of the moments that play out are very much mirroring what was in that movie. And sometimes because of that, it has a hard time of, trying to find its own identity in the middle of all of that. And it is a little, wonky, especially when it comes to some of the pacing in those moments and when it comes to some of the dialogue. Like it does feel like the most unwieldy act of the three. There's also one thing that throughout the movie I kept thinking about, which was the musical score. I think in isolation, it's a great score. I think it's wonderfully done. But there are moments in the first act where it feels a little misplaced. Like there's a couple of times when something really tense happens and the music doesn't sound like it gives off that sense of urgency. I think they were trying to evoke some of the, moments in High and Low with some of that, but I don't think it fully works in those moments. It improves considerably, however, once the movie does, find its own path and it really starts to do its own thing. And then by the end, I was a fan of it for the most part. But that initial bit, I would say, is definitely the weakest part. So overall, I think Highest to Lowest is very good. I think there's a lot of really great stuff in here. And while it's not my favorite Spike Lee movie ever, I think it's a really good one nonetheless. And I do recommend checking it out. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if you manage to do a double feature between High and Low and then Highest to Lowest, I think you might have some fun with that. I think it'll make a very interesting experience. It's not a perfect movie, but it is very, very, very good. And I'm gonna give Highest to Lowest an 8.5 out of 10. I just want to say though that the release schedule for this is not great, so it's out in select theaters now, and if you can see it on the screen, great. But when I say select theaters, I mean really, really select. Like it was running in only one theater in my neighborhood, and there's only one show for it. I don't think there's places that have even got that. So if you get a chance to see it on the screen, fantastic. If you don't, it's out on Apple TV Plus next month. It's very much made for the big screen, especially with the sound design and the aspects of music that play into it, especially with David being the best ears in the business. So I think some of that would work a lot better. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very, very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.